the way.
What's going on, guys? Freek here, and in this video we're going to be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and why I think they're more dangerous than I originally thought that they would be, and maybe that this video will maybe change your mind as far as something that I've been noticing while watching these games. Now, if you haven't noticed, there have been really just a few teams that just have really shown themselves at the top of this NBA season, and that being, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks. And of course, we do not have to take into account the Los Angeles Clippers, despite the fact their record doesn't directly show it, but we know the fact that due to their load management, their record is not going to be nearly the same. But of course, this is going to go into this load management situation. Now, if we look at the MVP performance that he had last season and compare it to this season, we're noticing his numbers are actually better when we look at Giannis, and it really just comes to that effect. It's going to look at it, it's going to be okay around 3 more points per game and about 1 more rebound, while sacrificing about a half an assist a game and keeping around the same defensive numbers and steals and blocks. But whenever we really want to look into this situation, it's really something that we're seeing. It's not much of an improvement if you look at the stats from that perspective. But when you really look at it, which is one thing that the Bucks load management is very unique, is the minutes. And when you can really see this is if we look right here at his season from this season and last season at per 36 numbers. Now, if you notice here, you're looking at around 5 points per game. You're looking at about 15 rebounds per game, 6.2 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1.5 blocks. So defensively, sticking around to being the same player. But if we look at the numbers on the other parts, we're definitely seeing the fact that it's actually a pretty good jump when it comes down to it, especially when we're talking about somebody who's averaging around 30 points, averaging around 5 more points per game. So that's really a huge difference whenever we really look at this. And to compare, here's a situation where we look at LeBron James' stats this season compared to per 36, showing the fact that yes, he plays very close to that per 36 moment, despite the fact that the Los Angeles Lakers do win in blowout fashion. Now, of course, when we look at many teams, lots of teams don't have the opportunity to really rest their players in mid-game, and we know lots of reasons why players tend not to like to be resting in that way, and that is the fact that it does sacrifice their stats. As you can see right here, this is a sacrifice as far as what we usually do see. When we look at the older NBA, we see usually the fact that the per 36 actually went down, and if you look at per 100 possessions in the points per game, you can see somebody like James Harden, who is averaging 38 points per game, is actually only averaging 3 more points per game than Giannis, and only 4 points per game more than Luka Doncic. Whenever we see these different situations here, we're seeing the fact that they're being very efficient with the way that they score, the way that they're playing, and of course, like I mentioned, James Harden, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, their sort of core group, while they're still one of the top teams, is really doing that. And when we look at minutes per game, the only person as far as a superstar that's getting less minutes per game is Kawhi Leonard, who is, of course, recovering from this injury. And if you really just think it is just load management, there's situations where he's missing multiple games in a row, and he's actually been taken out of games with basically that calf, looking at it and things such as that. So I don't believe the fact that this is a situation where Kawhi Leonard is just resting just to get ready for the playoffs, but I think it's really a health situation. We saw it with the playoffs with the Toronto Raptors, as he was very much hobbled throughout those series. So whenever we look at something like this, somebody like Giannis, who's, of course, while his numbers are even improved whenever considering the fact he's only playing 31 minutes per game, we're also looking at the fact that he's actually scoring the ball from the 2-point even more efficiently, and the only reason why his field goal percentage is even down this season would be due to the fact that he's taking more threes per game, shooting around 5.7 threes per game. But despite that, still being able to improve dramatically throughout from his rest of his career on his three-point shot. Now, is it something that is a direct threat that he's pulling up? No, but is exactly what I expect from players like this. When you talk about a player that needs to add a three-point shot, it's not the fact that these players need to, it's the fact that they need to be able to develop one that's a threat, something that makes the team have to guard you at the perimeter rather than just sagging off defensively and just asking you to take the three. It's not the fact that you actually need to just be able to drain a whole bunch of threes. In this situation, we're actually seeing a situation where the 76ers head coach has now mentioned the fact that he wants Ben Simmons to shoot 1-3 a game. I don't think the fact that's the way to really look at it, but I think the fact that I definitely get the understanding of why he's trying to say this. And that is just to the fact that, yes, you want to be a threat at that point. And, of course, whenever we look at this, the main reason why I think this makes the Milwaukee Bucks more dangerous than what I'm actually even seeing their record is right now tied as the best in the NBA is the fact that right now they've actually had to deal with an injury in Chris Middleton and being able to still manageably keep Giannis's minutes relatively very low for a superstar caliber player. And we're looking at the fact that they're not even sacrificing these minutes onto other players on the starting lineup. It's really something that's keeping it throughout the entire team, keeping a very average minutes, but yet still managing to be able to blow out teams in this way. When we look at somebody like the Los Angeles Lakers, for an example, they still keep their starters in the game for a long period of time, around 35 minutes per game with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, despite the fact that they have very similar as far as times of where they're blowing out their opponents as well. So to me, it's something to really look at. You could really see maybe this is going to be a situation where you're seeing the fact that the Bucks are going to be more energetic, more ready for the playoffs. And of course, whenever we're talking about something like this, we know the fact that the Eastern Conference, most likely that first round, is really going to be looking weak in that perspective. So this really could show to improve if they're able to maintain rest while maintaining this number one spot, is going to really be something to really look into, where we see lots of these teams that have to show all this energy doing this. And we know the fact that the Lakers are not really going with a load management schedule for their players. So whenever we see something like that, we have to see what's going to happen here. I think the fact that this is a really interesting aspect to it, and I always thought that this would be a way that load management would be done, would be through their minutes rather than the games. But guys, tell me what your guys' thoughts are on this. I think the fact that this, though, also with those numbers, really just showcases how good that this year's MVP race is going to be. I think it's right now a very big 3-man race, and maybe even 4 if you want to really put it into that perspective. But guys, tell me who you guys think is going to win MVP, and who do you think is the favorite to win the NBA championship? I'd like to see that in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you guys leave a like and subscribe to become part of the Greek Army today. And as always, this is Sparta.